Well, we have some wild weather to talk about, tornadoes and extreme winds in Minnesota, parts of the Dakotas. The watches are already flying. Also, we have a hot weather dome that continues to build. It's over the central U.S. now. It will be spreading east over the next 3 to 7 days. Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. Summer starts today. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Let's get into it. A level 3 out of 5 severe weather threat exists for parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota. You can see that outlined here. So the entire length of North and South Dakota and a sizable chunk of northern Minnesota with a level 2 surrounding that going into the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, level 1. Also another level 1 down there in parts of New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska. There's a tornado threat with this, and it'll be later on tonight. We'll show you the model data here in a minute, but it's a 10% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile circle that runs just north of Bismarck over to Fargo along I-94 and areas just north of that with a 5 and a 2% surrounding that. Then there's a significant tornado probability. This is a 10% greater chance of an EF2 to EF5. So those are the stronger tornadoes on the scale within 25 miles of a point. Still pretty serious there from just north of Bismarck, including the Fargo area and getting well into parts of Minnesota. There's also a high wind risk here. This is a 10% greater chance of a 75 mile per hour wind gust or higher within 25 miles of a point. That's just a little bit bigger in area. That's because the storms, I think, when they initially form, will be tornadic, and then it turns into more of a wind machine later on tonight. And all this is pretty much going to set in after dark tonight, although there will be some storms before that. Here's NATOcast. I just wanted to show you the latest 18Z updates. So this is run on the latest model data, and the ones that are run at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is what this is based on. And they're putting a 10% bullseye of tornado threat right there just off to the east of Fargo. Well, so far, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for a little sliver of southeast Montana and southwestern parts of North Dakota, a little bit of South Dakota too, and other watches and warnings will be forthcoming, I'm sure. Here's the latest radar. This is Montana right here, and here's the border between Montana and North Dakota. So you see a few cells already active. A couple of warnings were in effect. I believe this was snapped at about 5 o'clock, just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. Take a look at the HRRR simulated radar. It does show those storms progressing into the Dakotas. They are leaving snail trails. These little gray areas here are where there is significant rotation in the updraft. So these could be troublemakers. These could produce isolated, very strong tornadoes as they progress into the Dakotas. This is supposed to be valid at 7 o'clock Friday evening. If we jump ahead 6 more hours to 1 a.m., very active storms in Minnesota, maybe a few kind of still straggling behind in parts of the Dakotas, but this is, again, where that highest tornado probability was. But again, I think some of these individual cells out here could do it too, certainly into the evening hours and past dark. I issue a daily severe weather outlook video. It happens in the morning, and it's after the SPC issues their morning forecast. So be on the lookout for that. It's issued daily. And then on this particular video, Weather to Watch, I update it with the latest SPC information on the days when this video is released. Take a look at the visible satellite loop here. We have leftover blow-off clouds from showers and storms. Nothing really developing yet. What I showed you on radar there in Montana, and then that activity that's in that level 1 area for severe weather today is beginning to pop up a little bit at the 500 millibar level. This is a good way to find little storms. One pretty significant trough of low pressure is leaving the East Coast. Took the severe weather with it. We have little tiny ripples, not really responsible for a whole lot. Right there. That could be aiding the form of that. Huge low off the coast of Washington and Oregon. And it's the jet stream flow that's coming around that, along with little tiny, maybe short waves like that one right there, that has already initiated some of these storms. And as this wind field progresses into the Dakotas and Minnesota tonight, it's going to be responsible for more of that widespread severe weather. At the top of the video, we talked about hot weather. This is the ensemble European model at 500 millibars, and I show this to you because it is an average or a mean over a 7-day period from the 23rd through the 29th. Today's 20th, so it starts on Monday and goes for the next 7 days after that. And what it's showing is, first of all, this is a high-pressure area aloft. Whenever you get one of those in the summer, it's going to be hot and pretty dry underneath it. this color right here is how abnormal this is, or how much does it deviate from what you normally see. So when you see this color right here, that means that this ridge is high, is pretty strong for this time of year. Also notice that there's troughing out west, so severe weather is going to be very active up here for the next 7 days for sure. But we're talking about the hot air now, and it looks like the dew points, which is an absolute measure of moisture, are running a little high in this area. So that actually aids in the heat index values, because heat index takes moisture into consideration and comes up with an apparent temperature. So again, not only are the temperatures going to be hot, but it's going to be very humid, and that's going to add to a feels like temperature, which will exceed the actual temperature by quite a bit in some areas. Here are all the heat advisories, warnings, watches. All this shading right here is a heat advisory. This is an excessive heat warning right now. Again, it hasn't shifted to the east yet. These are the watches in anticipation of that happening. Here is the weather hazards for that same time period. Basically, that I showed you the EPS data for the 500 millibar level. So it just kind of progresses along with that ridge. It goes from Illinois, centered in Illinois, to centered in Ohio, the Appalachians providing some relief there, and then it shifts into the northeastern U.S. Take a look at high temperatures. This is the GFS model now we're looking at this. We see widespread 90s. Chicago, this is Monday, could be at a 100, very close to it anyway. And you're starting to see a couple of 100s pop up here and there, especially in Virginia and North Carolina. Here's Tuesday. The 100s are really starting to spread through the southeast, but that is above normal. And then these temperatures up here, Boston is recording a 100-degree temperature there on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, we're looking at 97 degrees in Hartford, Connecticut. And again, a lot of 100s down in Georgia, northern Florida, and into the Carolinas. Let's just take a sampling of one place, Richmond, Virginia, which is showing a steady increase in temperatures. So that Monday, it'll be 102 there. And on Tuesday, 104 degrees. And not exactly cooler on Wednesday, coming in at 99. Well, the heavy rain, at least organized heavy rain, will wait a little bit. So this is going to be June 23rd through the 26th. So there's a heavy rain area setting up from northern Kansas through much of Nebraska, Iowa, into the Corn Belt there, Wisconsin, Minnesota, another secondary area there in New Mexico. That's good news because they are kind of high on the drought scale, especially the southern end of that heavy rain area. That is a reflection of the monsoon that begins to take over this time of year, where actually higher dew points come in from the Gulf and move up into there. And sometimes this also combines with, if there's low pressure out here, we get a flow off the Pacific as well. Let's take a look at the model and see how it adds up rain over the next 7 days. So if you see yellow, that's 4 right there. And then we get 5 and maybe even 6-inch totals from just north of Madison, Wisconsin, through Rochester, Minnesota, back into around Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And there's that stream of moisture coming up from Mexico into New Mexico, and they could use a little more rain. Tropical Atlantic forecast, that's the last thing we'll look at today. Nothing really expected over the next 7 days and really beyond. And just to review, the hurricane forecast from NOAA is expected to be above normal. In fact, a 60% chance of an above normal season, with 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and major hurricanes in the 3 to 5. Now, these forecasts never include where they'll make landfall, but here's a list of the names in case your name's on the list. Again, nothing's been named yet. We've had no real activity as of yet. The Pacific has finally kicked in, though. We are already moving to F as the next tropical storm name, Flossie, after Eric came ashore as a major hurricane here. Now they're watching this area again for some development about over the next 5 to 7 days. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.